Hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. It has ever been thus, and in our current year, it is truer than ever. As if anyone out there was holding out some hope that CD Projekt Red would have learned from the mistakes of Cyberpunk 2077, well, I am here yet again to dash those hopes. As they recently hired Mary Keeney as a senior writer at CD Projekt Red. Now, Mary Keeney might be a name that you remember from articles such as this. We need to pull every lever we have, as Insomniac's narrative director discusses lack of LGBTQ content in video games. In his article, she asserts that whilst gaming is now stuffed completely and utterly full to the gills of LGBTQ characters and queerness, etc., it is still not enough. Why? Because by definition it can never be enough. This is a political cause, not a question of actual, representation or seeing the characters in the story. That is largely irrelevant. And of course, going on to say, we need to pull every lever we have. So she is making it very clear that she will do anything within her power to continue to push the agenda in anything she is engaged with, and now that is going to be CD Projekt Red. She was also the woman who wrote this defense of Sweet Baby Inc., which grew rather famous. A lot of people talked about this, and, well, See, here's the thing. It is in many ways a technically correct description. For example, this part here. This next part is key, because some of you seem really confused. Narrative consultants do not get the final say, and they don't override the core dev teams and leads. It doesn't get into the game if we don't approve it. And this is, of course, correct. A consultant team is not supposed to override the creative vision of the original team. But here's the thing, of course, as, she kind of undermines her own point by responding to this. So this is the famous clip, of course, where the Sweet Baby Inc. CEO mentions that if the game is not being inclusive and diverse enough, then you should go to the marketing department and scare them about how terrible all of those very diverse gamers might react. Yes. I don't think I've seen a single game actually receive a popular backlash for its lack of diversity up until this point, but details. Where she responds, she's talking about warning the marketing team how players will react to the game, scaring the shit out of them with her assessments, which is her job as a consultant, telling people uncomfortable truths in the hopes that they fix it. This, of course, kind of immediately sweeps the leg under this one here, because here's the thing. A consultant team, indeed, its only real job is to give you ideas. You come to them and go like, okay, I'm making a World War II game, right? You gotta tell me what kind of weapons I can use, what kind of vehicles would be available in this time period, what kind of uniforms there are. That would be a consultant job. Or in the terms of writing, it's like, I'm having trouble with this character, so on. What Sweet Baby Inc. does, and all of their political likes, is to insert the agenda. It is to, as mentioned previously, pull every lever they have. That is the point and the purpose. And since this is a greater good, you can do no wrong in the pursuit of the greater good. That is why it is moral and just to go to the marketing team and scare them for the reaction of an imaginary audience that has seemingly never ever manifested for any game or, as so recently demonstrated with the Acolyte, TV show bent on appealing to it, because it simply doesn't actually exist anywhere. And that is what Sweet Baby Inc. does. It does scare you. It goes, hey, you know what? You'll be called a racist if you don't do this. And that is not a threat for what the audience will do. That is a threat for what they will do to you. The accusations of being a misogynist or anti-feminism, well, those were accusations that could end careers. And even up until this point, cancel culture has certainly lost a lot of its power, but it's still there. There were the recent rumors as well, for example, that they were trying to extort the developers of Black Myth Wukong for millions of dollars. Now, I'm a pinch skeptical of those rumors because it sounds too Saturday morning cartoon villainy for my skeptic senses, but I can see it happening, and the very reason that so many people immediately believed it, it's a pretty strong indication that the credentials of Sweet Baby Inc. and its equal companies for being good people, pretty minuscule at this point. And of course, this is not an accident, so allow me to reassure you, by the way, this is not the death of Cyberpunk 2088. It was dead a long time ago. This is merely one more nail hammered into the coffin of CD Projekt Red, as they declared their commitment to ESG, of course, a couple of years ago, with a bombastic video declaring their allegiance. And CD Projekt Red, it hasn't been the company it once was. Cyberpunk is an excellent example of that, and myself and many others included would have thought that with the enormous success of Edgerunners, which was everything that people wanted from a cyberpunk story, that CD Projekt Red would have gone, okay, well, shit. We have literally been given the recipe for success. We have the blueprint right here. All we need to do to create a game that will sell like mad is to create Edgerunners in a playable form. Literally, that's pretty much all you're gonna have to do. And you know, I am all for the idea. Take that core of the storyline, for example, where you'd actually do have a reason for vengeance, you actually do have a reason for disliking the corporations, unlike in Cyberpunk, where you were basically just a side character to Johnny Silverhand, and then add in companion characters as well, since true tragedy, in really all settings, comes from the personally tragic. You can show them as many, huge battlefields scattered with corpses you want, or the refuse of as many gang English wars as you want, or as a recent article mentioned where they didn't have enough homeless people in their game, and that real America was way worse than their cyberpunk future. This isn't tragedy. Tragic things come as a consequence of your relationship to characters. The idea of Cyberpunk is that the city, Night City, devours people. It eats them, it chews them up and spits them out. It is the loss of characters of import that might actually get you to feel something real for the story, a sense of tragedy. If you really wanted people to really hate the corporation, give a good side character, like Jackie actually, but build him up more than one single goddamn flashback that serves no other purpose than to raise a death flag the size of North America over his head, and then swiftly move him out of the way. You've got to build these characters up. Bonus points, incidentally, if their fates could be avoided, or even better, choices need to be made between characters. During long-ass quest lines, you need to create a world that is actually hostile, that is actually dangerous, where loss can and will happen, but again, I'm giving advice to a team that just hired a woman whose only actual interest in gaming is to force her sexuality into it. I don't really think we're going to need to worry about how to do corporate greed effectively. See, I had a rant about this some other day, but if you want to make a greedy, like an evil corporation, what you need to create is a blanket force. A greedy corporation isn't something like a simple, internal war within the corporation where they throw you out and instantly oust you, etc. It needs to be a war against the machine. It isn't one random competitive or, co-worker who turns on you and gets you hacked out of your system overnight. No, it needs to be as if you are drowning, because the system is what is being used to attack you. That is the thing. It is the rule of the corporation, like a microcosm of an enormous stock market, where all the rules of society are slowly being turned against you. You lose your privileged parking, that is like one piece. You lose your space at the coffee machine or whatever, or you get your access to certain restricted files withdrawn, or you don't get the usual cut of the stock profits or the insider trading. It should be like being choked out by 1,000 layers of bureaucracy as the entire enormous structure turns against you at the hands of a skilled manipulator. But Again, writing something like that is going to be complicated and require patience and time and planning and a great deal of interactive mechanics. And sadly, none of these things are particularly queer. And as that is, again, the sole singular overriding interest of the person you just hired as a senior writer. Yeah, somehow I don't have particularly strong hopes for CD Projekt Red's future. Hell, they jumped on board with the ESG just as it was beginning to head downhill, and now they are apparently doubling down on that horse as it continues to ride them into oblivion. And hey, considering the damage that might have already been done to the Wolverine game from what I've heard, perhaps our intrepid writer here has landed herself in hot water with previous employers and is now looking to abscond before anything too woke comes up. Who knows, but it's an interesting move, and it's not a surprising thing that CD Projekt Red would pick her up. After all, if you're going to be digging your own grave, you might as well be using the largest shovel you can get a hold of. Until next time, I've been Arch. Thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Have a good day.